Hello, my name is Dominic Underhallhouse and welcome to another episode of Moonbreaker. This is another video for newer players, and this is basically an idea of how the game works, how it's going to function, what you're going to be doing, and how to go about doing it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a beginner list and I'm just going to run it in an AI game to give you an idea of how it goes. And then I'm going to take the same list into a PvP game. Chances are it probably won't go quite as well in there, but who knows, we don't know what players we're going to go against. And it's just a way of figuring out how it works in both in theory and in practice. So if you enjoy this, please do like, comment, subscribe, join us over on Patreon in the description down below. I want to let you know that I'm here because I really love this game and I want you guys to too. And with the huge influx that's coming to the community at the moment, I want to sort of go back to making some more supportive videos and just sort of let you know what to do for the moment. Now, one thing I will sort of point out is there are actually going to be some quite large changes coming to Moonbreaker in a couple of months' time. I believe it is sort of scheduled for around August, and they change how some of the game mechanics work. So this is going to be, for the next couple of months, this is going to be sort of the main way that the systems work, but don't worry if changes come in the future. It doesn't change absolutely everything. It makes the game change how it plays a bit, but we'll be going through that as and when we need to. So don't worry, it's still a great time to jump into Moonbreaker. There's still loads of fun to be had with this version, and I can't wait to share it with you. So we're going to go to play, we're going to click the versus AI button, and what we're going to do, you can just scroll right the way to the bottom of all of my lists. I'm just going to pick the nuts and bolts list. So this is the very first pre-built roster that came with the game. It's the one that most of the new players would have started playing with, and this is what I want to just show you, give you an idea of how it works, and try it. So, sort of try it out in a couple of games. So in terms of units, we have got Maximus over here. He is the ubiquitous one drop as it stands at the moment. He can shoot, he hits twice, and he moves again. Stitchy McPatchy is a healer. He can restore 4 health to our units, and he's got a small melee attack. Deadeye is a range unit, so she's got decent attack, but also buffs range attacks for allies. Crankbait just pulls a unit towards them, so if you play games like League of Legends, it's like a blitzcrank style thing, but it can pull allies as well as enemies, and also just objects on the battlefield, some of them as well. Detonia throws a grenade to deal damage in an AoE at a fairly short distance. We've got Beatrice here, who's a big melee frontline whose spear damages through in a line straight behind her. Toxoid, who, if it deals damage to a unit, takes them down to 1 health immediately whenever it deals damage. We've got Snareling, who can immobilize units when it hits them. Tona Mystic Manteo, who restores health to your captain based on the unspent cinder at the end of your turn. And lastly, we've got Tipu down here, the ever-powerful, all-growing chicken brain chicken thing. Who knows what Tipu is, but it's horrifying and we love him. Our captain is Extilior. So Extilior, this is one of my attempts at using glitter paint just to try it out in the first instance. So this is, again, if you want to do better with glitter paint, unlock the rewards and you can try them out. Extilior is a melee captain. When an ally in range gains Shield of Hope whenever a rival is destroyed, and Shield of Hope reduces the next damage to a unit by 1, and they do stack, so you can have multiple of them. 1 cinder to activate there, 2 cinder to activate his Sword of Justice, which is 3 damage in an AoE. So that's all there is to it for the list. There is more information to be gained by looking over each unit in more detail, but for now we're just going to jump into a game and sort of see how it functions and how to get used to the playstyle overall. I love these intro screens. The little music, the little sort of animations, it feels very much like, yeah, we're going into battle. So this gets me just a little bit hyped every single time it comes up. I also love the fact you can see your opponent's paint job. Okay, so you can see it's telling us the scenario is gun supply. That's our start zones. We have to hold those 3 objectives to score points. Cinder piles are here to gain additional resources, and our opponent starts the turn. So the opponent's going to move. We've got the end turn button over here, which is return to end turn on our turn. They've just given themselves a Shield of Hope to protect them, and they're going to use their resources of leadership to deploy. So they've deployed a Maximus. As the player going second, we do get an additional resource on our first turn, so we need to make sure we make good use of that. So we're going to move over here as well. We are going to be taking damage from Maximus almost without a doubt, but what we need to do is decide what we want to do here. And funnily enough, we've got Beatrice, who can basically block some of the damage quite easily. We've got Detonia, who can provide some damage ourselves fairly easily. Or we've got Deadeye and Maximus as a good sort of 1-2 punch to deal a bit of damage at range. So we've got a little area here around our captain which shows how far you can deploy. I'm going to deploy Maximus down over here and Deadeye just next to him. And because we do have this Cinder here, we're going to Shield of Hope as well. So this is going to go. We are going to take some damage next turn from their range attack. And they've scored points as well by holding this uncontested at the start of their turn. But next turn we might be able to do something about that. So what are they going to do? Maximus is moving forward, taking this objective away from us for now. The question is, are they going to try and do some damage? So they've taken that back. And the way things work, so when we deploy units, you can place them down. They can't act immediately. There are some units that can with charge, but those ones are not in this list, so we don't need to worry about that. There is a 1 turn delay on everything activating at the moment. And what's happened here, Maximus has used his attack to damage us. Because it dealt damage, it dealt 1 to the shield and 1 damage. Maximus's move ability is refreshed and he can move again. They have, however, just blocked it in place over here, so Maximus can't move in the direction they might want to. So what they've done here is left a really, really good situation for an Extilior player. So when you click on your unit, you can see these buttons we've got down here. Each of these are the actions that we can take. Move, melee, Shield of Hope, and Sword of Justice. So we did use Shield of Hope previously, but I didn't go through what it did. So we're going to click on Move, and we can show where we're going to move. Anything with this yellow circle is what you're in base contact with. So we're going to sit over here, right in the middle of these, and we're going to go and try and just clear out some damage. Now these cinder piles, they do explode when damaged. However, this might actually be something we want to do. We might be willing to risk our captain in exchange for dealing with that. So get our first spin out here. We can melee attack here. So who do we want to attack? We can go. So this is going to take 4 damage if we explode it anyway. So I think we just go here. So that works out well. This unstable, I believe, is going to, yeah. So it would hit both of those in an explosion.
Eyes open, tails.
So what do we want to do here? I think the best thing might be to just pop straight forwards and kill this. We can move, and we've got a couple of options here. So we can click here to see how far their unit can move, and we can see Extilior can get round here but not all the way over here. So what I'm going to try and do is something a little bit tricky. I'm going to move over here. I'm going to shoot their Antios Gauntlet for 2 attacks. I'm going to leave this for now. We're going to let them waste their time healing. We'll see where he can move, which is only down to here. And we're going to move just down here to take this objective away from them. We are now out of range of that. We're out of range of Extilior except the spin. And we're in a pretty good position all in all. And we can play something to follow up here. And honestly, looking at this, I'm going to play Beatrice, use our big tank, and try and block things off over here. Apologies for the Discord notifications, that is my fault. We can pop Shield of Hope down to just protect our units. I'm going to pop it on our captain, and we will carry on from there. Okay, so now we're going to see what the opponent's going to do. We've tried to do is we try to deploy in a way that blocks them in place. So our opponents have got limited movement. They can use their abilities, they can heal, but we've still got a lot of damage output to go. We've put a tanky unit here, so it makes it harder for them to fight through it. If they attack this, even this is only going to do 2 damage to Beatrice because she has an ability called Armour. So Armour's indicated by this little section around here, and that just shows that we're taking 1 reduced damage from every single attack. This is Antios' ability, gains +4 attack and first strike, which just means that when he does attack, he doesn't get hit back. So very nice for him at this point in time. Ooh, are they gonna... Okay, so that was actually quite a complicated interaction for a game at this point. What they did was they attacked Beatrice. Beatrice attacks back because she's a melee unit in melee range, and her attacks pierce. They pierced, they hit the cinder pile, they exploded, and dealt 4 damage to everything a circle around it. That's actually quite a lot more than I would have expected to happen, but it was quite good for us. I mean, it dealt damage to our captain, but it's not unreasonable. So we're just going to shoot here and move out of sight. We can get a Sword of Justice in here and try and clean up a little bit going on. And because we've still got Maximus here, now Maximus' ability is going to be really good. if we were to shoot from here, we've got no line of sight, we've got nothing reasonable going on. But what we can do is we can move as close as we want to get 100% accuracy. Guarantee we kill that unit. Move all the way back over here again and stay safe, and we haven't lost anything whatsoever. So we can do our melee attack over here. Just start weakening crankbait. We do take the one back. That is something that we knew was going to happen. And what I'm going to do here is when I move, I'm going to move over to here just to make it so that this blocks Extilior getting into range of us any better. We are still in melee range here. Poke a little bit of damage through, and we need to choose what we're doing for our 3-drop. So we've taken a lot of damage, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to play both Detonia, who actually as a sort of a range lobbing unit is fairly safe over here, and we're going to play Stitchy McPatchy a little bit better protected down here. So that gives us access to one unit that can heal us and one unit that can deal damage. We're going to protect our unit for now, and actually I think all we're going to do here is just block Crankbait in place so they can't move anywhere at all. We've got 2 Cinder left. Cinder does disappear at the end of the turn, so we're just going to pop this on ourselves to get increased accuracy because it lasts for 2 turns, and see what happens from there. So what we've done is we've put ourselves in a quite commanding position. We have got 5 crew on the battlefield, as you can see here. You can only ever have a maximum of 6 at a time anyway, and our opponent only has 1, but they have 6 crew left to deploy and we have 5. If you're planning on playing an attrition game, keeping the fact that they've got 7 crew in total remaining and we've still got 10 is a really, really big bonus for us. We've got 3 whole crews that are resources we could use that they don't have access to. Okay, so there was that Retaliate again, hitting back. Okay, they're deploying over here. So now we need to find ways of keeping things alive.
Would a grenade help?
So this Lob Explosives is a powerful ability, but it hits allied as well as enemies, and that is the case for almost every single ability in Moonbreaker. So you need to be careful what you use and in which order. To start with, we're going to Nutrient Syringe here to just heal up Beatrice, because we don't want her to die. Now we can hit over here, but it doesn't do too much because it's just going to hit our own Titonia. We can hit over here. This is going to reduce our health. They are going to attack us back. But then Beatrice is going to move over here and basically be our protection on this angle. What we've got over here is now, because Titonia's ability doesn't have that in the middle, we can just toss that grenade in the middle and take both out. And if we're feeling like we want to play for the longer game, we can move over here and hold the objective, or we could move in aggressively for the next turn. What we're going to do next is just move in aggressively. So we are going to turn this into a race essentially. We've got a healer. Yeah, we do have options available. We are going to take 3 damage back here, so we're going to go to 12. With their spin as well, they can deal 6. They got 7 with this, so we know for a fact that they're only going to be able to deal basically 10 damage total, and we're at 5. So we're going to try and see if we can win this the old-fashioned way through damage. So we do our spin as well, and you'll notice that because of spin's an ability, we don't get hit back, and we're just going to Shield of Hope to protect ourselves. We can bring Deadeye over here, who still has the damage buff from earlier, so we can stay a little bit further away and stay at 100%, so we go for here. And because we're going for a damage race, and we don't want Toxoid to absolutely ruin our day, we're going to just move up here, shoot, but because they can't stop us moving, wow, you notice we missed there because I didn't move close enough to the model to reduce the accuracy debuff, so we didn't have 100% accuracy, so we did actually miss a shot. I'm going to move all the way back here, and then we need to pick something out. So we've got Tona, who can start healing our captain, but I don't think we're going to lose based on heals. I think we just want the best toy that we can have, and that is going to be Tipu. So given that they can't move up there very well, they've only got Toxoid, they will be able to kill Tipu here most likely. However, if we put it over here, they might not. So we're going to deploy Tipu, see if we can get that big brain chicken going, and we can just stay safe back here and worry about healing next turn. You can press the tab button to cycle through which units still have activations left, and just pop the end turn down when you're ready. So these are all sort of the generic basics. There's so many combos and synergies between units that you're going to need to find out for yourself. We can do sort of little videos that cover some of them here and there, but finding them out is half of the fun sometimes, and I think it's something people are going to really enjoy doing. I had a great fun when I figured it out for myself, and I just want you to have that same experience of just discovering new synergies and thinking that is amazing. My best advice to you is just play around with Broken Vengeance. That unit has so many fun interactions. I would recommend anyone to try it as often as possible. Okay, so here comes all their deployment. They've got Noxie, we're still scoring points. I think now we're at the point where we can probably just look at going for it. So we're going to move right in, get that 100% accuracy, shoot, take that out, and we'll just pop back out here into safety just in case. Deadeye, go for that 100% hit we want. We don't want to take any risks here. Pop another 100 down here. We've got Extilior, so he can deal 6. Ooh, this might be a little close. Hang on a minute. Can Beatrice actually get in range? Okay, Teutonia might be trying to save the day here. Okay, we're good, we're good. So, we're going to go in here and hit. The interesting thing is we want to make sure that we hit last. We don't do sort of the last thing, just in case. Basically, there are ways where our captain could die on a backswing, so if we were lower health, we don't want to attack and then get attacked back and just lose our unit. I'm not worried about hitting our own units here, because we know that we're a huge advantage. We're going to send Tipu in, deal his 3 damage, and Teutonia can use her grenade to just finish off the enemy captain, and with the win conditions being kill the captain or score 10 points, we've won the game. So there we go, that is our first little run through of an AI game, and what we'll get next is a little stat screen. So this screen's got really useful information about things that you might have happened through the game. So you can see here that we had 1 victory point, we got 10 for killing the captain. These are 4 bounties which have been in and out of the game in varying forms, but I imagine this screen is going to change when the new systems come in from experimental server anyway. You can also just tab through here to see your roster, how much XP your units gain, and also pop through here to see where what your opponent's roster was as well. So that's our very first game. That's sort of a general idea as to how it works. Now I'm going to take the same list into PvP. Now with this new influx of players, I don't know what level player I'm going to come against. I don't want you thinking I'm trying to bully anyone, or just like if I come against a new player. I'm not trying to be difficult. All I want to do is just show you how I would play this list in that situation, and hopefully we can just find a game, dive straight into it, and just sort of test that out in a way that feels authentic versus someone who is playing a real life game. They're playing their own lists, we're playing the pre-made list to try and show what we can do with that before you start figuring out what synergies work for you, what units are your favourite, what you have the most fun with, which to me is the most important thing in any game, and that's sort of how you can decide what you want to do from there moving forwards. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm going to pause the video, I'll come back when we found a game, and then we can just jump straight in and hopefully have some fun and see what you guys think from there. So I'll see you back in a moment. Okay, we are back and we're going to try and jump into a PvP game using that same Extilior list that we looked at previously. So you may notice I am in different clothes, I look different, it is a different day, I'm just recording this at a different point in time, so don't worry about that fact, I promise. We are just going to jump in and carry on doing exactly the same as we did previously, and hopefully we'll be able to find a game, jump into it, and show you how to use that same Extilior list that we did previously in a PvP game. Now the thing to bear in mind is this is very much a beginner's list. This is the first one you get in the game, you use it to sort of learn how to play, and there's a very reasonable chance that we might not do as well, because it isn't a tailored list. It's not built for specific purposes, it just is a list of the units that, we get to try things out. We're against Sky, who is evidently a fairly new player, level 6, so hopefully we'll be able to have a good game in this front as well. So let's see what we've got. We've got ship capture. It's the same map as the previous one. Do we have the same control points? No. Okay, so this is an interesting one with control points, because there's it sort of forces the gameplay across to the left. Now the question is, what do we want to do and how do we want to play it? Because they're far away and we're melee and they're ranged, we want to bring the game to somewhere that they have to interact with us a bit more. So if we come over here, we may still have some lines of sight that hit us from over there, which is absolutely fine. It's not what we want to have happen, but it is perfectly reasonable. And what we're going to use is just this corner here to block some line of sight. So I'd say probably going about here, we should be fairly safe from a shot all the way down there. And then because we can, I think initially I'm going to shield our captain. A lot of games at the moment come down to captain damage. it could be a possibility to shield Deadeye, and it could be a very useful thing to do, but it might not be what we want in the long run. I think in general my preferred playstyle would be to protect Deadeye, but I want to try and go for a longer game. We are going to get beaten down with attrition from an opponent that's got range when we don't initially, so we need to make good use of our resources as and when we can. So the interesting thing about Detonia coming here, so Detonia ignores line of sight, but they position somewhere where we have line of sight. So we can actually just shoot here, do that initially, we can run ourselves over here. This is probably going to be in range of Detonia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Shield of Hope here, then we'll run across. We're behind this so it makes it harder for Zax to get in range of us. But one thing we want to make sure is we try and stay out of range of Detonia's lob to hit both of us. So it may not be possible. I think this looks just about right here. And then we need to be moving forwards and figure out our own aggressive game plan as well. So if they're going to play with a Detonia and move up towards us, we could try and do the same. Or we could place a Beatrice that takes -1 damage. I think just deploying our own Detonia makes the most sense. We can basically use this to counter on theirs. We've got a damage advantage on their units. They are going to get 1 back onto Deadeye, almost guaranteed, but I don't think they can get 2. And Deadeye's buff lasts for 2 turns, so we can actually move on to the control point, start damaging, and potentially start getting a little bit further ahead with things. So whatever comes down here is going to be a curious one. We need to look at what we've got to follow up. If they deploy too close to Detonia, our Detonia is going to be able to hit both of them. Okay, so with that coming down, that incentivizes us to try and deal as much damage as quick as possible. As you can see here, we're just out of range. So we're going to put Detonia at risk. We're going to move forwards, and we're going to see if we can get this nice double target lob over here, which is perfect, just what we want to do. So we want to stay again further away, split up as much as we can, so we're going to move over to this angle. If we come over here, we can use our increased accuracy to hit, and it makes Fixer struggle a little bit more to hit us back, because they're going to have to move out and expose themselves. I'm going to keep Shield of Hoping over here to keep our units alive. And Extilior, I think, is now at the point where he needs to just start running forwards, and we're going to start trying to get aggressive. Now we've still got deployment here, we've got 2 things that we can do. We can either deploy one of our things over here, or we can try and go for more damage. Beatrice, I think, might be the option here, because Beatrice is a big tanky unit. It's going to block the route quite easily, so it's going to be hard for them to do things on that front. And we can just pick another unit to put out somewhere, try and keep safe. I think popping Maximus back here allows us to put a bit more damage output in future turns. So we're trying to use the positioning here. We're holding this point, we're holding this point. We should start ticking up points if they don't find a way to interact with it. And we're trying to get the crew advantage here. So with them having 5 Cinder available, they've got 3 units, each of which has a 2 Cinder ability. 2 Cinder here, 2 Cinder here, 2 Cinder here. So they are actually prohibited from using all of them at once. So in terms of deployment, with our units, we have got a unit ability here, a unit ability here, and we want to use it on Extilior, but that's only going to be most of the time 6 Cinder that we need, and Extilior is useful even without the abilities. Deadeye is useful without the abilities. Fixer is just fairly mediocre. Still does as much damage, but isn't something that's quite as impactful. So this bomb is perfectly fine, but what we don't want for them is to basically, if they stay too near us, there we go, they're going to put us in a position where Beatrice can start getting AoEs out, and that is absolutely fine for this position. So they're spreading out, they're moving away from Detonia. This is good play from them. We just need to see where we can make good use out of it. So we can hit their captain, but what we really need to do is start trying to hit the crew and find a way up there to deal some more damage. So we know we've got 4 damage that can come over here onto Fixer. We can potentially get some more here, but realistically we need to find our way through this. So we'll start by Shield of Hoping here. I think this is going to be one of the battlefields, is just trying to take control of this side of things. So if we can just stay back here. In fact, we're going to go closer because I don't want to have to use my ability this turn. So we're going to try and go for 87% shot. There we go. Maximus is going to come up nice and close, which might seem not ideal, but what we're also going to do is move in here and try and just contest that objective slightly with our units. Beatrice is just not really sure what she's going to do here. I think it may even be that we're going to move up here first and see if we can get these two with a lob. We can, there we go. So we're making them spend their resources. Our captain can just move around here because this is where we want to draw the fight. And we're going to move Beatrice in range here to hit the bomb because this way she takes the hit and nothing else does. And we're just going to pop a crankbait down over here and a Stitchy because we can. So we did run out of time there. Okay, and our opponents conceded. So I think we had a lot of control of the board. We had a lot of positioning advantage. I think we were going to be able to take out a lot of their units moving forwards. And because we were able to take hold of that left, neither of us had a huge amount of damage output. So if we look at what was on the board for our opponent, so Crash is a huge damaging unit. That's a really terrifying thing to deal with. Pyro and Turncoat are really powerful units as well in terms of damage, but what they had on the board, we had Detonia, who is going to be fine, but we've got some heals, we've got some shields, we're going to be able to outweather Detonia's damage most of the time. Fixer was probably going to die the following turn. Stitchy doesn't put any damage output out. And, you know, so they didn't have any of the damaging units on the board, and we could just sit on that left-hand side, tick up the points, and start, you know, taking the victory from there. So we didn't get to play out the game. I do think my opponent still definitely had some chances in there. I don't think they were out of it by any means, but, you know, they chose to end that game there, and that's entirely their choice. So with our list, we do have low general damage output, but we've got a Tipu that we could have followed up with as well. Toxoid is really good for taking out one unit once. That it usually dies on the backswing, but that's fine. We needed to find a way of getting Extilior into range past the mines, but all in all, that game went fairly well for us. I do think we were in a commanding position. We were able to score more points, take control of the board, and start gradually pushing the opponent back by our positioning. And again, with that mine, choosing to put Beatrice on the mine, it would have exploded, it would have dealt damage to her, but we've then got healing for her the next time. She's really hard to finish off. It means the mine isn't going to hit anyone else, because the idea of mines is that if we'd have left that alone, they could have used Zax's gravity disc to pull things together and maybe hit 1, 2, 3 units, whereas this way we're choosing to let it only hit one, and that one unit has armor anyway. So there we go, that's our first game with the list. Hopefully you guys can learn something from this, you found it useful. If you have, please do like, comment, subscribe, join us over on the Patreon description down below. There is so much Moonbreaker content to come. One of the things I want to ask you is if you've got anything that you're finding difficult about Moonbreaker, please let me know. I'm trying to put together a series of tips and tricks as to, you know, how to use different units, how to counter things that you're struggling with, and how to sort of go about dealing with all the problems that new players might face. And you guys know better than I do what it is that you're struggling with, so please do let me know. But for now, I want to thank you so much for watching, and most importantly is to have a good day.